Alright, this meeting and all other meetings of the council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statutes so that citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. We'll call the meeting to order with a roll call.
Nadowski,
Here.
Rasmussen,
Here.
and Kempf is not yet here.
Alright, next on the list, we'll look to get approval for the minutes from the joint Public Works and Finance Committee meeting on the 14th.
Make a motion to approve the finance minutes from the joint Public Works and Finance Committee meeting on September 14th, 2015.
I'll second it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, we got citizens' appearances, which we have none. And then we go on to number 4, which is a claim for fence expense reimbursement, 115 West Birdsall Street.
Yep, and I will ask that you hold it until your next meeting because we are waiting on the final amount. This is, talked to Jack about it, or Jack's aware of it. It's, they had put in for a fence, they built a fence. The posts were constructed into the right of way, so they had to take them out. But there was a question, when they worked with the building inspector on being on a corner lot, there's certain areas you can build certain heights of fence. And what they're saying is, they're making a claim to be reimbursed for posts that they had to pull out because of the approval on the building permit. And so we'll review that, but for the claim itself, it's gonna be less than $300 is what they're asking for, but some of the posts, they pulled out and kept them. Some of the other ones, they had already cemented in. And so what we did is with Public Works is we had a tractor go over and we helped them out. We pulled the posts. And they're looking at getting reimbursed for costs that they would ask. So I'd ask that we'd hold any other discussion until the next meeting when we've got the amount, so.
Okay.
Okay?
Alright, next we have, let's see, looking for a motion for the contract C15 pay request number 3 to Imbel for $149,106.94. And I will submit that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 And then just a quick update, they are on schedule. They did get a little bit behind with some basement shoring and underpinning for the foundation. There is probably some discussion that we'll end up having with the council in closed session at some point to talk about underpinning costs and whether there's a cost share or a change order coming on that. But right now they're maybe a week or two behind on that, and then with some rain they did get a little bit behind. But right now they are doing the roofs on the existing buildings, so the big crane that you see downtown, that's what they're working on now. They are looking in the next 2 weeks or by the end of October to start coming in with Spancrete to start laying the floor for that middle building. And then they're thinking by the end of November they should have the walls up. Maybe early December that'll look like the building. Yeah. But other than that, it's been moving. If you drive by, you'll see that the city hall offices are framed out now on the first floor and the second floor. So they're moving. It's a good thing.
Alright. Next on the list. Oh yes, we do have to do this one, okay. Make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 19.851C Wisconsin statute, consideration of employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any city employee who is subject to jurisdiction or authority of the council. The reason for the closed session is to review the city's health insurance program and wages for 2016 budget. The committee may choose to reconvene in open session at the completion of the closed session in order to take action on items from the closed session. So I just need a second then.
I'll second.
Motion second, and then we'll do
Roll call.
the roll call. Nadowski,
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
It's 7:29.
Alright,
Okay,
next is budget.
you still have that sheet. What we'll look through is the general government, which is going to be the top half, essentially. Mainly what I've got either with highlighted colors, again, this is a draft. If there's a highlighted color, it means that there was a change or something that we're looking at. For the 2015 budget, we did set aside for an assistant type position. We did not hire that position, so what we're gonna end up doing in November is have a budget adjustment, so we'll reclassify that money. And the next line item that we would talk about, which is where that money will get readjusted to, is the city attorney line item. In the past, we've had prosecution and general labor all combined in one line. You see I'll have it split out here for 2014's actual, for 2015's actual. And then in the future, what we'll probably do is try to split that so that you've got like general HR, ordinance, zoning type things, and then municipal court. One of the things we do have to look at is there was quite a bit of catching up in municipal court, and you can see that in 2014 that was $49,000 worth of prosecution costs. In 2015 we're at $48,000 in prosecution costs right now, but roughly $25,000 of that has been wrapped up in the railroad. And that's a project that we've been discussing. Now, we've been discussing that strategy in closed session. It's going to come within the next month here, probably to an open session. But when we look at municipal court, at some point it's going to be caught up. And what we'll probably have to look at is what do you take in citation and fine money? Because right now we get a share of the fine money and New London gets a share for running the court. That's our joint court. And not that you look at citations to be a moneymaker for you, but you look at what is the revenue you're getting, what is the purpose of the court and prosecution, and how much are you paying for that prosecution. And if you're paying a lot more in prosecution than what you're taking in money, typically you can offset that because of the purpose of the court, trying to achieve something. But that's an item that I think we're probably going to be looking into. How can we try to be more efficient or be efficient there? That's why I've got that highlighted. But we're looking at roughly $60,000 in attorney's fees for the 2016 budget. And you'll see the big item there, 70 to 80% of that is wrapped up in municipal court and prosecution. Moving down with the municipal building, it's going to be kind of tough to scope this out for next year with the costs. But basically in May, we're hoping to move into a brand new building. And so with the costs to maintain that, heat it, keep the lights on, it's going to be some more costs. Next year is going to be maybe a trial year, and then going into 2017 we'll get a better idea on what the exact costs are to run that, to clean it, but we're proposing a 92% increase up to $25,000 for next year in municipal building. The good news is we'll have a brand new building that, a lot of the repairs and that we won't, and that's common sense. The only other change we have is the other orange line item, which I won't label out, but it's a change in benefits, and so that's what the change is there. That's why it's in orange.
No change in any workman's comp, huh?
No, the only thing we do have, and I don't have it colored here, is the property and liability insurance. The main drivers in property insurance, I've got roughly a $5,000 increase to get to $35,000. We talked about the state property fund, which is what our property insurance, that's how we get insured.
Yeah.
They're looking at closing that fund, or at least keeping it open a little bit longer they were talking about closing it, now they're talking about keeping it open with increased rates. And so our insurance, the league's insurance, is looking at, they've set up their own company now, MPIC is what it's called. And they're thinking that roughly we'll have a 15 to 20% increase in property insurance if we go with this new company. If we stayed with the property fund, we'd be looking at much more than that. So, and on top of that, we're building new buildings and insuring those new buildings that we're building. So, but for workers' comp insurance, we are in the middle, or we've been in the middle of probably our worst time, where they look at like 3 to 4 years of experience.
Exactly. Right.
And from 2010, 2009 through 2013, 2012, we just had a lot of claims. And so our rate, your modification number, if it's 1.0, it means that you're paying what you're supposed to be paying. But if your mod number is higher than that, ours has been up to 1.6, 1.7. What it means is you're paying 60% or 70% more on your insurance than you're supposed to. And there's not a whole lot we can do except for to try to prevent injuries and try to make better decisions, and but if accidents happen, they happen. I know we just had a really bad run with injuries, and because of that, we're paying higher premiums now. The good news is we can't really get any higher with our rate, and we know now that we've had a couple good years, and so eventually we'll start to have good years replace the bad years in that formula.
That's what I was wondering, is when that was gonna start having a positive impact on that.
One of the other things that I've talked to the league about was going into 2014, we were canceled by Continental Western, which was serviced through TIS in town. We were canceled because of claims on employment practices, a whole bunch of different things that we had out there. And basically, when we were paying 20 to 30 grand for our insurance company was paying out on average 100 grand. And so that's not a very good investment for them, and they canceled us. Because of that experience, the league came in at a pretty high rate for us. Now, they gave us insurance and they insured us, but they insured us knowing that we had a lot of claims and had some bad loss runs. Now we've done a lot better. We haven't had any claims or suits against the city that we've lost. And so at some point, and I'm hoping it's this year or next year, that'll start to come down too. And I've talked to the league about them coming back here maybe in November, December to talk to you guys about how were we doing when we first started with them and how are we doing now and what does that mean for coverage and costs. And on top of that, we do have a new agent now. We were going through that Terry Kristen from Westland Insurance, and he was out of Toma because that's who we were assigned to by the league. And now they don't do business with Westland anymore, and they reassigned us to Burkhardt Heisdorf, which is out of more of the valley, Green Lake. I think they got a Sheboygan office too.
You have a connection with them, don't you?
That's the year before I came here. Eschwabnan switched to the league, and that's who that region is who they had Burkhardt Heisdorf, and so I've done work with them, and it's good. It's just they've got a lot more new clients now in this region, and so I've been in touch with them 2-3 times, but we'll bring them up to meet you guys too, and then that'll be part of that discussion with the insurance. So, other than that, on the expense side, that's really what we've got for now. In general, what we're looking at is, in 2015 we had 1,772,000 in expenses. We're looking at a reduction of 0.74%, so that comes down to 1.759 million. $13,000 reduction. Really, the way that comes in is some of our state aids and revenues from the state are declining, but on a $1.78 million, $1.77 or $1.78 million budget, a $13,000 reduction isn't bad. So I think we're doing pretty good there. The taxes, will have a little bit more discussion on that in November, because last year, you will remember when the valuations came through, the tax rate was going to go up 4 cents, so from $8.16 per thousand to $8.20, and what the council wanted to do was maintain the rate the same, and so we cut out, it was $4,700 last year. You get the ability to reclaim that in future years if you want to, and we'll probably have a discussion on that. That'll be with the full council. And then on top of that, we closed TIF District number 3, and so those properties are not in TIF anymore, and they come back on the general fund. So we'll talk about those revenues a little bit more in November.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, are there any questions?
No.
How's your new system working? Your new operating system?
Yeah, we're still in training. The big issue we have is we let our current carrier know that we're not continuing with them. And so to be able to get all the info out, the problem is in with utility billing, because somebody hasn't paid their water bill in 10 months, that's still out there in the old system. And if we can't port it out of our software we have into the new one, we'd have to go back and re-enter all of our bills and readings and everything by hand into the new system. And the problem I ran into was the current company, when I called them and said, hey, I'd like to know how to export this out,
Yeah.
they tried to sell me on staying with them, and I told them we are not, and then they just stopped answering the call. So that's been the trouble. We are doing some training with the new software. It's going pretty good, but really what we're going to be concerned with is trying to get the utility billing into the new system. That's going to be the big thing. Because like entering payroll and that, if we have to do that by hand, we really only have 15 to 20 people, so that's pretty easy to do. But the billing, it takes 3 to 4 days every month when we do that. And if we've got to do 12 months worth at 3 to 4 days a piece, that won't be very good.
No.
You can't take and import it in as an Excel.
That's
Program,
we're
can you?
looking into that.
I mean, that sometimes that really works well,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's
that way?
the big headache is just more in converting over, and we're still aiming for the end of this year to have the new software. So we'll be up and running on January 1st with the new software, and we should be good there. But other than that, things are going pretty good.
Alright. Let's see what else we got here. Number 8, so make a motion to approve the checks 31740 through 31808 totaling $854,117 and the monthly financial statements.
I'll second.
We'll need a roll call.
Yep. Nadowski
Aye.
and Rasmussen.
Aye.
Okay.
We're on the administrator report.
The big thing we've just had is the budget, the financial software conversion, like we mentioned, and then just taking care of the city hall projects. A lot of construction meetings on that. One of the things I will add real quick, just on city hall, at the public works meeting, Thad, I don't remember if he mentioned it going into the meeting or if he mentioned it on the way out of the meeting, but when you're digging into the old building, you start to find things inside. One of the things was some of the lead material that we didn't expect was in there. We had a change order last month on that. There's a couple others that are probably coming. The floor on the second floor of the city hall building isn't level, and so they're looking at a very cost-effective solution to try to level individual rooms the best they can, rather than having to level the whole floor. And it's going to include some plywood shimming, and then there's like I forget the name of the product that you can lay out. It's almost like a self-leveler or something like that.
Yeah.
But part of the problem we have there too is that the floor there is like 100 years old, and there's only so much that you can put on there. So you can't pour like a new concrete floor or anything like that and have it hold up. But the big thing would just be, as we move forward, there are some change orders that are coming through. Part of the process on our end is when Immel finds something, they come to us, and then we have a discussion or a negotiation on what a cost could be for a change order. So it's not like they come to us and say, just pick a number and throw it out. There's some discussion that goes in on that. And so in the future here, you'll probably see some change orders. You'll also remember that we talked about contingency, and I think it was like 10% of the project, roughly $200,000 that Cedar had mentioned. There could be things that pop up They weren't expecting to spend 200 grand, but they said be prepared for things that pop up because you're digging into old buildings and sometimes you find things that
Yep.
you didn't know
Yep.
were there. And there's a couple things we've run into that one of the field stone foundations for the middle building underneath the sidewalk had cracked and then caved and fell over. So they had to go in and repair that, and it's an extra cost, but it's something that came up. So just so you know, there's a couple of change orders that are probably coming down the road, and we're working on it.
Alright,
Okay,
Okay.
so the next thing then is the November finance meeting.
yep.
Usually you're looking at the first Monday, that's November 2nd.
That's fine.
Time 5:30, 6.
Yeah, I'm good with either.
So am I. 5:30, would you rather
5:30,
get it
yeah.
over with earlier?
Yep.
Okay,
Any other such matters?
I don't have any.
Alright, then I'll make a motion for adjournment.
A second?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 7:55.